Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show and another episode of our Tactical Breakdown series. You thought the show was dead because it's not it's not currently the transfer window, but that does not mean that the media sleeps. That does not mean that Arsenal suddenly stop being linked to players, and all the way up until the opening of the summer window, we will keep you updated and informed of all of those players that Arsenal are linked to, and of course getting the expert insight that we always like to give you, on top of some fantastic statistics and discussion that goes on in our live chat. And if you are of course enjoying our Tactical Breakdown series, and have been over the course of the last couple of years or so, years, I mean it feels like years, but if you've been enjoying it all, please make sure you give the show a like, please subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and turn notifications on so you know when these shows hit live. And if you would like to get a little bit more engrossed with the Gooner Talk, you can even hit the join button and get access to exclusive content like my chat with Drew on Tuesday, which went out the other day for our members, and you can check that out just by clicking the join button. So please do get involved. There's loads more than that as well. Now, we are here to talk about Saïd Benrahma, who is a Algerian winger currently playing at Brentford. And I'm going to go into a lot of the statistics and facts. But before I do, I need to give you some insight from someone who knows a lot more about Saïd than I do. And who better than Billy Grant from the Beesotted Brentford podcast. Really looking forward to hear what Billy has to say. I know you are too. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and listen to what Billy has got to say about the Algerian.
Saïd Benrahma, he's got to be one of the most talented, most gifted players I've ever seen down at Brentford. We signed him from OGC Nice, the beginning of the 2018 season. I remember the first time I saw him, we played a friendly against Watford, and normally you get out in these friendlies, you thought, let's just go and check out the new players. And it was one of those ones where the friendly was so-so, but all of a sudden he came on the pitch and he was doing a few little skills, and me and my mate Laney, we looked at each other and thought, he looks a bit good, doesn't he? But the way that Brentford do it, they didn't put him straight in the side. They kind of graduated him slowly. Because again, when we get foreign players coming in, they need to learn the game. They need to learn the championship. They need to learn, the tricks of the trade. They need to learn Brentford's ways of playing, the patterns of play, as they call it. So we didn't really see him sort of fully fledged for a couple of months, and we dripped him in slowly. But he's one of those players that eventually, when he came into the side, he was wicked. He started to take on players. Hotter was one of the most favourite Brentford players ever. Everyone loved him. But within months, Benrahma had kind of taken over from Hotter, as everyone could see that he was very, very skillful. So, I mean, he's just got tricks up his sleeve, From what I've heard, he's one of the most skillful players on the training ground. Like, a lot of the players always want to be on his side, because he's one of the most skillful players on the training ground. But he's a joy to watch. And last season, the good thing about Benrahma is that normally it takes the players that we sign from abroad, quite a while, maybe a season or so, to get up to speed. But within 6 months, he was completely on fire. He was terrorising oppositions. If you see the tricks that he's got, the little flicks that he's got, he picks up the ball, runs at players, runs down the wing. He's great at dribbling. He's great at crossing. He's great at set pieces. He's just a great little player. The Algerian Messi, as we call him. Naturally, it's with Brentford, and everyone always tries to pluck off our players. There's a lot of teams that were sniffing around him, including Aston Villa with Dean Smith, our old manager as well. There was rumours that he'd come in. Well, rumours that we've heard that he'd actually put a bid in for Benrahma, but it wasn't high enough. I think we were looking at 20 million plus at the time. And it wasn't high enough, and we managed to keep him, and the fans were really happy about that, because it's really gutting as a fan every time you get a player that you start to love, and within a year or so he's been plucked away from you. So this season, Benrahma, he's had a good season so far. The back end of last season, to be fair, he had an injury back end of last season, so he was doing really well. I remember he scored a hat-trick against Hull, and a few games later he was injured and he was out for the whole of the summer. He was meant to play at the African Cup of Nations for Algeria. He was chosen for Algeria, and they put him inside. They were going to play at the AFCON, and he was gutted because he missed out on that. He missed out on that competition, so he was put aside. Brentford sent him away, as they do, got him some really great treatment. Beginning of the season, he still didn't come back too soon. It was about a month or so before he started to come into the side as well. And to be fair, when he started this season, everyone was saying, Benrahma, he's not as good as he was last season. Not that he's a bad player, but obviously the injury had its toll, and he had to get up to fitness, and we brought in a few new players, so he had to kind of get in with it. So the first month or so of the season, Benrahma, you see, he was really trying to get in there, but it wasn't really happening for him. But, you know, he's a special player. And, you know, at Beesotted, you know, I'll co-run a blog called Beesotted. This is Beesotted.com. We did a interview with Thomas Frank, which is the Brentford head coach, bread manager. We took him down the pub and we were there for a couple of hours with him. We had a right laugh. He told us loads of things, and he said to us, Benrahma, he's a special player. He's a properly special player. And when you get these special players, you've got to treat them with kid gloves. You know, he said he's an artist. And he says you've got to treat artists, you know, in a special way. So sometimes artists, they may not have a good game, but you still have to treat them with kid gloves. So I think with Benrahma, he has great games, but also he has off games. And I think everyone's seen the memes and the clips on TV, and they say that Benrahma is a great player because you've seen the little bits that he does, all the little clips, you know, the banana, the rainbow flick where he does it over his head and takes out 2 players, or nutmegs a player and then double nutmegs a player. You've seen the one against QPR where he did that one. That was a great little one. That was, you know, so all these things are great at Benrahma, but you have to see his whole game as well. And, you know, he's, as much as he's great at certain things, he's still got things that he's got to work on. So in his aerial play, he's got to work on that as well. And also defensively, there's one thing at Brentford, you've got to be great up front, but you've also got to do the pressing, you've got to do defensive stuff as well. And he's working on that game. So, you know, and there's no better place for him to do it than Brentford, to be quite honest, because we're great at picking up rough jewels and developing them. We've been doing this for the last 5, 6, 7 years. We pick up players that other teams are a bit scared about, and we see what's good about them, and then we develop them. That's what we've done with Benrahma. And what I've noticed with our players is that sometimes when they go away, they don't necessarily do as well away from Brentford as they do with us. So with Benrahma, we've developed him. We know what he's like. We put the right players around him. We're playing the right type of football. That's good football for Benrahma. If you pluck him out of the Brentford, you know, Brentford flower, you pluck him out of there and you put him somewhere else, it may not operate in the same way. So I know that there's teams that are sniffing around Saïd Benrahma at the moment now. I know Arsenal are one of the ones that are being linked with him as well, but what I'll say is that at the moment Benrahma is doing very well at Griffin Park. We love him at Griffin Park. He knows the players know him, and he's playing fantastically there. So we'd like to keep him at Griffin Park for as long as possible, because Saïd Benrahma, you know that Brentford loves you and Brentford is your home.
A huge thank you to Billy for giving us all of his professional expert insight, of course. Not really something that we see too often, Arsenal being linked to Championship players. And to be honest, it's something that I don't think we take advantage of enough. I don't think Arsenal are savvy enough at times to really use the English market and go beyond just the Premier League. And with the likes of Raul Sanllehi and Kia Joorabchian and Jorge Mendes, and all these super agents that are seemingly filling Arsenal with their clients, it's time that Arsenal finally get a little bit more street smart and sign some of these really key players that are already used to the industrialisation of the Premier League and, of course, the other football leagues below us. But let's talk about statistics, because stats are what you come here for. Stats is what's made this show famous, and I'm so glad to finally discuss someone who has got some exciting statistics for sure. But there's only one place to start, and that's with our trusty heat maps. Let's have a look at the heat map on your screen now. As I said before, Benrahma is a left-winging, awful English, a left winger. And he's quite intense about how he likes cutting inside. He uses both feet, which is a really, really interesting part of his game, something that's quite desirable. And I'm really interested to see where that sort of puts him in Arsenal's pecking order were he to sign, because you look at Gabriel Martinelli this season, who is typically a left winger, but can play on the right-hand side and centrally too. And if we would sign Benrahma, you'd imagine that Martinelli would take up another position on the field, possibly on that right-hand side. I feel he's still personally better on the left, which could cause some confliction here, but it's interesting to see that Arsenal are interested in boosting their ranks and spending a bit of money on players that could be a little bit ruthless and could push other players out of the club possibly as we move on and try and really rebuild what is currently quite a dire Arsenal side. Let's look at the attacking statistics. So 8 goals, 3 assists so far in 2019-20. Very solid for a player of Benrahma's age. He takes just under 4 shots per game, and if you look at the graph and the graphic there, he takes shots from everywhere. Inside the box, outside the box. I mean, his goals that he has scored are coming mainly from the inside there, but that's a ridiculous amount of shots that he is taking. But the only issue with that is it's about a 37% accuracy. I'd like that to increase more, but again, that's quite stringent and strict for a player of Benrahma's age. And for me, I love to see players of that age taking as many shots as feasibly possible, boosting their confidence. Even if they miss a few, it doesn't downhearten them and they power through and carry on and try again. And that confidence is so key for someone that could move to the Gunners. Shot assist 1.76 is a creative guy. We'll talk a little bit more about that in his passing statistics. Crosses 3.49 with 32.6% accuracy, but it's the dribbles that are part of his game. Billy talked about how great he is as at dribbling, and he's taken over 10 of those in a game with a 48.9% success rate. Very confident dribbler, loves to be on the ball, loves to take on players, and that shows in the offensive duels as well. 17.33 offensive duels, 39.6% of those being won. And he loves to get in the box over four, nearly 4.5 touches in the box each game, and that's really, really positive as well. More in deliverance of that confidence. Progressive runs 3.29, trying to create space for himself and be found by his teammates, and that leads to him being fouled a fair amount, over nearly 1.5 times per game. Really, really solid. Interesting that is. Passing stats then. Passing accuracy 77%. Yeah, I mean, that's probably where you'd expect it to be at this age. Maybe you want it to be a bit higher, especially considering it's playing in the Championship. But at the same time, 40 passes in those games, 77% accuracy. He's going to improve. He's going to get better at that. Better coaching, especially in a side like Arsenal. You will see those statistics shoot up for sure. Long passing, nowhere near as part of his game as his short, intricate passing is, but he's got a 50% success rate with nearly 3 long passes per match. Again, through passes, not that big part of his game with a 28.1% success rate with those. You can sort of see why. Crosses we've mentioned already. Passes into the final third, 5, nearly 6 being made per game with nearly a 70% success rate is fairly decent. Would like to see that a bit higher though. Passes into the box, 6 with a 50% success rate, and he's receiving 31 passes per game. Those statistics there, again, it shows someone who's I mean, I don't want to use the word greedy, but someone that doesn't want to give the ball away, and when he does, he's reluctant to do so, and that can lead to indecision in his game, which you expect from someone who's very young. And those forward and backward passes, I mean, I would like to see a few more forward passes being made in comparison to the backward ones, especially when less than 70% of them are reaching their target. But 91.8% back pass is a very, very common statistic that we've seen on this show time and time again. So passing as a whole, certainly something that he needs to work on, certainly something that could be improved, but it's really the attacking side that we saw a second ago, and his dribbling ability, his ability to carry the ball, take players on and beat a man is the real part of his game. Defensively though, it's really important to look at defensive stats, especially for wingers. I bang on about this all the time. Defensive duels 4.43 per game with a 54% success rate. That's pretty decent in fairness. Area duels, he isn't going to be up there winning those headers. That's not part of his game. Over 1 interception per game, or more than 1 rather, interception in each game, but he's losing the ball 14 times, and that is very synonymous of a player of Benrahma's age. I feel like I'm saying that over and over again, but you cannot understate a player's age when you're talking about statistics sometimes. People get very, very, what's the right word to use? Over analytical, I feel, when they look at young players and they look into their statistics, and they're surprised that they're so low, because we are blessed in Europe with players like Kylian Mbappe and these guys that are so young and yet so effective. But that's just not the case for most of the players across Europe. These are complete anomalies in how good they are. And so it's still important to give these players that are raw and need development and need coaching a chance. The interesting thing though is only 14% of those are being lost in his own half, and that's a very low statistic for a winger, that only 14% are being lost in their half. You usually see them in the high 20s, low 30s, and that tells me that he's getting into the opposition half a lot. He's being found, he's trying to take players on in the opposition half, and even though sometimes he's reluctant to give the ball away, when he does, we've looked at his passing accuracy, and that's why he's losing the ball as often as he is there. He does recover the ball, but not too many times, nearly 3 in a game, and we like to see those statistics up in the 6s, 7s and 8s, especially for wingers, with a nearly an 8% in the opposition half. He spends so much of his time in there that he's not necessarily getting back as much to lose the ball in his own half. So that sort of tells you, and if you link that back to the heat map that we saw earlier, there was barely any intensity in Benrahma's own half. He's a very attack-minded player, and he's not one for getting back, and you could say that counts against him right now, but he's playing at a very young age where he wants to stand out, he wants to show what he can do offensively and dynamically, and that's why you don't really see it in the other direction. That's why you don't see clearance is very high, fouls less than one a game. It's not loads. Yellow cards, he's nearly receiving one in every 15 games, it seems. So, or rather, not one in every 15 games. He's over 1 in 10 games, so he's nearly 2 in every 10 games, 1 in every 5. So he's very raw. I think that's what you need to take from this, is that Benrahma is still a very raw player. But you can tell from the enthusiasm that Billy talked about and when he was describing Benrahma that he's someone with tons of talent, loads of talent. The amount of goals that he scored at his age, eight goals so far in the season, is mad for a winger of his age. Brentford. How many times have I said the words of his age? It just makes you feel like you're coming up with excuses for him. But that is the raw deal with this guy. That is how good he is, and those are the reasons why. I'm interested to know what your comments would be on him in the description below, or in the comment section rather. So please leave your points in there, and I'll try to reply as many of them as I can. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new around here and turn those notifications on so you never miss a show. We will be back again very soon for some interesting talk on tactical breakdowns on players that we will be linked to, leading all the way up to the summer and to the Euros, where it could get very exciting. If you're to believe the reports, certain Mr. Mikel Arteta is wanting to get his business done before that tournament kicks off. So we could be seeing some business get done before the window even opens, and some deals being signed and ready to be announced on the opening of the window. I'll see you again very, very soon, and as always, up the Arsenal.